हेलो गुड मर्निङ नमस्ते। आज 18 जुन 2022 भएर म चाहिँ रोयल गोल्ड्स रोड ट्रेल रोड अनि रोयल गोल्ड्स ब्रिज एन्ड पार्क घुमिसकेपछि मोली काथलिन गोल्ड माइन टुरको लागि क्रिपल क्रिकतर्फ जाँदैछौँ। क्रिपल क्रिक चाहिँ रोयल गोल्ड्स ब्रिज एन्ड पार्कबाट करिब 47 माइल अर्थात् 75 किलोमिटरको दूरीमा नर्थतर्फ रहेको छ। मोली काथलिन गोल्ड माइन सन् 1891बाट सुरु भएको हो। यो गोल्ड माइन सन् 1891देखि 1961सम्म सञ्चालनमा रहेको थियो। 1961 पछाडि चाहिँ अहिले यो सुनखानीलाई पर्यटकीय आकर्षणको रूपमा प्रयोग गरी दैनिक रूपमा यहाँ चाहिँ टुरहरू सञ्चालन गर्ने गरिन्छ।
गोल्ड माइन हो यो।
कोलोराडोको अत्यन्तै सुन्दर र सफा सडकहरूमा प्राकृतिक सौन्दर्यको आनन्द लिँदै हामी क्रिपल क्रिक पुग्यौँ। हामी क्रिपल क्रिक गोल्ड माइनिङ सेन्टरमा आइसकेका छौँ। यो चाहिँ एकदम हिस्टोरिक प्लेस हो कोलोराडोको, प्रारम्भ अमेरिकाको हो। चारैतिर एकदम दामी सिन छ। त्यो पारि चाहिँ हेरिटेज सेन्टर छ। यता चाहिँ गोल्ड माइनिङ टुर नै चल्ने रहेछ। $30 कति लाग्छ अरे इन्ट्री गर्नलाई। त्यहाँ पारि चाहिँ गोल्ड माइनिङ छ। गोल्ड माइन पुरै डाँडा काटेर बनाउँछ। हाम्रोतिर चाहिँ यो प्लटिङ गर्ने डाँडा काटे जस्तै छ। यो चाहिँ गोल्ड माइनिङ गर्दाखेरि प्रयोग हुने इक्विपमेन्टहरू होला, पहिलेको मेसिनहरू।
I have a tour in about 20 minutes that I can get you on.
Okay.
And it's 1 hour long.
1 hour.
And it's $30 per person.
Okay.
So if you want to get both.
So is that the active mine?
That is an active mine. Yes, you can see them working right over there. Gold mine.
But we can't go there, right?
No, they don't do tours of that.
Okay.
But, you can kind of. This is actually one of the better spots to watch them work a little bit.
Oh.
Go ahead and put your card in there.
यो गोल्ड माइन टुर गर्नको लागि चाहिँ प्रति व्यक्ति $30 लाग्छ अनि सुरक्षाको लागि चाहिँ प्रत्येक भिजिटर्सले अनिवार्य रूपमा हेलमेट प्रयोग गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ। यो टुर चाहिँ ग्राउन्ड लेभलबाट 300 मिटर अर्थात् 1000 फिट तल गएर सञ्चालन हुन्छ। त्यहाँ जानको लागि चाहिँ एउटा सानो पुरानो एलिभेटर छ, सायद त्यो 4x4 फिटको होला। 1000 फिट तल जान्छ अनि त्यसपछि टुर हुन्छ। चाहिँ सी लेभलबाट लगभग 10,000 फिट माथि छ। एन्टिक स्टिम ट्र्याक्टर रहेछ। स्टिमबाट चल्ने ट्र्याक्टर। एकातिर कुन जमानाको कार छ। त्यो पारीको चाहिँ एक्टिभ माइन हो अनि त्यो काम चाहिँ भइरहेछ। त्यो सानो ठिक हुन्छ होला, त्यो त मलाई त ठिक भयो। त्यो जेलको ढोका खोले जस्तो छ त।
All right, everybody, watch your hands here, okay?
हामी 8-9 जनालाई चाहिँ त्यही एउटा एलिभेटरमा कच्याकुच पारेर कुचेर हामीलाई चाहिँ 1000 फिट तल झारेको थियो।
And what we're going to do is we're going to, as we're going through this, we're going to talk to you about history. I like history. I'm an old school guy. I actually live in and own an old school. Over in Victor, I own the old Victor High School that's over there. And so I've been here about 15 years, and I'm going to be telling you a little bit about some of the stuff I've learned. And it's pretty cool, the history that happened here in this mining district. How many of you have been in a gold mine before? Nobody. Anybody been in a volcano before?
Actually.
Yeah, nice. Nice. Well, we're in both right now. This is a gold mine. All the gold in here formed in an extinct volcano. And as the volcanic processes happened, most of the gold was formed in vertical veins. Most of it, not all of it, but most of it in vertical veins. And so, on our tour, what we're going to do is we're going to show you the history of how these miners got the gold out of the rocks. showing you some of their methods, and you kind of see that it was not very easy. Up until about 1910, the method they used was called hand drilling to drill holes in the rock.
Oh, okay.
And so single jacking was one miner, one sledgehammer, one drill steel, kind of like a chisel. They put it in the rock, pound it, turn it, pound it, turn it, pound it, turn it, until it got this far. And then they had a series of longer and longer drill steels until they had a much deeper hole. Do you know why they were drilling holes in the rock? Anybody know why? Dynamite. To load them with dynamite to blast the rock out. Well, I had one little girl on a tour last year. I asked, why do you think they drill holes in the rock? She said, well, when you drilled the hole, gas, light it, and a little flame came out about this far. That flame then would light up everything. And it was much, much brighter, would last much, much longer, and was much, much safer. It was safer, though, until they came up with this idea of putting little carbide lamps, little tiny ones, on their hats. And sometimes the hats were like that. That's pretty dangerous. And sometimes they were just hard hats. But then the new guys didn't know how to work them quite right, and they always had singed eyebrows. So you always tell the new guys because their eyebrows were singed because of the flame. I think they got rid of those pretty easily and pretty quickly because it just really didn't work. As we go on our tour, please feel free to ask questions. Let's try to look back this way. So if you want to move toward that chain, much easier to shovel off of metal than it was off of just the bare ground. The mucker got paid $3 a day. That was a high-paying mining job. So lots of miners wanted to come here because it was a high-paying place. They had to fill 2 of these in an hour or they got fired. And it was dangerous conditions. I mean, it was much lower ceiling, not much light. They had to do it. There's a guy that came into the area and he said, I'm going to get a job in those mines because they're hiring. He got fired from 3 mines in 2 weeks because he couldn't muck out fast enough. He was down on his luck. He went into Victor in the Gold Coin Club, which was a social club for the miners. They had a boxing ring. Asked him if he wanted to box the local champion. He beat the local champion. And then he beat everybody else in the world too. And he was the world heavyweight champion, Jack Dempsey. And you might have heard that name, but he was as famous as Babe Ruth in the 1920s. And when he came back to Victor in 1926, he was heavyweight champion. He actually signed the wall of the city hall. And so they've got it framed, Jack Dempsey, 1926. It's pretty cool. So he was heavyweight champion. Even little tiny mines had a mucking machine because it was so efficient. Took now just a few minutes to fill one of these instead of an hour to fill 2 of them. So I'm going to give you an idea how this. So everything is up on the surface. So they would, just like in my big school building from 1899, I have a big. Also leaching down through these walls is a substance called cinnabar, which is mercury. And we do not want to mess with mercury. So as we go through, you'll see a lot more white Epsom salts. But if you see any, what was hard about this though is they were trying to drill specific patterns in the rock, and so they had to move the drill after each hole before they blasted. So they would have to then move this monster up the column, drill another hole, move it down, move it to the other side. That's what took the long time, was moving the drill back and forth. Now I'm going to run it for you. You know what that means? Really loud. This one's really loud. Here we go. This is what it kind of sounded like and looked like. So that different sections would blast at different times. Not long apart, just a second, right? Just boom, 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 boom. The first one to blast was this, called the box. And inside the box was an empty hole called the reliever, because that first blast, the rock had to have somewhere to go. So it went, boom, into that reliever hole, then next sections went off, and then the last sections were these down here called the lifters. Those lifters are drilled at a 30-degree angle down, and so when everything else blasted, those lifters would then blast and lift the rock up and out of the hole and onto those muck plates, so it made it much easier. And once they would set the fuses, they would run back to the shaft and wait and count. Make sure, depending on what pattern they set, make sure that many blasts went off. If they didn't, it was called a miss. And so then the misses were not good because they had to come in and figure out what happened with that one section or one stick of dynamite. Some stories are that they would send in those instead of 15 or who knows, weeks with the other one. Pattern, more modern, but still similar, same ideas. A detonation cord is used instead of fuses. And instead of dynamite all the way through, they use this concoction called krill, but it's really ANFO. It's ammonium nitrate and diesel fuel. It's what those guys used in that Oklahoma City bombing all those years ago. And so it's very explosive, but much safer than all dynamite. And so they use a little gun like this, and they would spray it in each hole almost to the end, and then at the very end, this little shorter primer stick of dynamite, just a little bit, so that it could get everything started. So these tunnels have different names, though. We just call them, we're walking through a tunnel. A straight tunnel is called a crosscut. That's more like this. A crosscut went from a shaft to another shaft, or a shaft to a vein. It was a way to get around underground. A drift was a tunnel that followed the vein. So I always think it's the veins drifting through the rock, the tunnel drifts through the rock. Another tunnel we're going to show you is called a stope. And then, of course, the shaft is the one that's straight down. Now, this 36 square mile of a volcano, there were 500 mines on the volcano with shafts in them. All 500 mines are connected underground. They're connected really for two reasons. One is for the airflow. Do you feel the air coming through here? It's all fresh air that flows through here, down one shaft, through the tunnels, out another shaft. And I always thought it was going to be stuffy the first time I came down here, and it's really not. It's just fresh air all the time. It's not warm fresh air, but it's certainly fresh air. Also for safety, they were connected. Because if something happened over there, we could always get out of somebody else's mine. And so it was all connected on purpose. The big gold mine up on the hill, you saw it working. It's called CC&V, Cripple Creek and Victor Gold Mine, owned by Newmont North America. Several years ago, they put a computer program to all the historic maps of all of the historic tunnels underneath the volcano. Calculated out over 10,000 miles of tunnel inside this little 36 square miles. Unbelievable. And it was all done 6 feet at a time by the historic miners, which is just amazing. So if we wanted to, we could actually walk from here to my place in Victor if we knew the way.
Oh, wow.
Underground. But I don't know the way, so.
I won't take it.
This is called a raise. It's the beginning of a stope. I'm going to show you a real stope here later on. And then they blast. So now the rock is falling down. It would fall down. They'd have certain ways, and we'll show you one here in a minute, to get that rock into ore chutes. The ore chutes, the rock would fall down into wooden ore chutes, down into the ore cars. The ore cars then are at the bottom level. They take everything out to the shaft, and then the ore goes up the shaft. Sounds roundabout way to do it, but it was actually much faster and much easier to do it that way. This little thing here is called a slusher. We have one right here. It was a way if the rock got stuck on a ledge or something, they could just, instead of shoveling or raking or whatever, pushing the rock somehow, they just use this mechanical contraption, like a drag line, to drag the rock down to the ore chute. So I'm going to run it for you. If you want to come over here so you can see it actually. It's down here, and it's a little bit loud. All right, are we ready? Here it goes. District was almost never free gold. where it's like you see a yellow streak on the wall or you pan for a gold nugget. Didn't hardly ever happen here. The gold is all attached to other minerals that got formed in the volcano. The highest grade gold was in calaverite and sylvanite, and it actually looked like silver aluminum foil in the rock. Telluride ores also had gold attached to it. In this district, actually iron pyrite or fool's gold had gold attached to it too. So they're looking for fool's gold because there's gold attached to it. This is the most common. It's called purple fluorite. And in there are microscopic particles of gold. And it was purple with sparkles. And so they have different processes using heat and crushing and chemicals to get that gold separated out of the rock. That's why it was so difficult to get gold here, even though there's a lot of it. It's very difficult. Now, in this raise, here's what they were chasing. If you look right here, first of all, you got to see the little stalactite right there, right? That's pretty cool. But right above it, see that purple in that rock right there? And then up here is even a darker purple vein. So that was the vein they were chasing here that has the gold in it. Now, some of these veins, well, these veins actually are only a few inches wide. Some of the veins in the district were 50 to 60 feet wide. Wow. And it's one of the reasons it was one of the richest spots on Earth is inside this volcano. One of the really interesting things, I think, is that when the gold rush started here in 1891, gold miners were coming here to mine for gold. Gold miners found very little gold because they were looking for gold. People had no idea about mining or gold or anything, were coming here and picking up just shiny silverish rocks or purple rocks and becoming millionaires because that's where the gold is inside those rocks. And it's pretty interesting. There's lots and lots of stories about, they call them tenderfeet, coming in and going, oh, where should we dig today? Well, let's dig where the dog lays down. So the dog lays down, they dig, oh, millionaires, lots of gold there. Crazy. Stories like that all over the place. All right, we're going to walk down this way, and it's a little bit longer hike. The rails will stop here in a little while. Stalactites and stalagmites. Some of them are pretty old. There's actually a full column back there, all the way from floor to ceiling. This one, for instance, was pretty big, where my light is right here up close, but then it broke off, and then the little one started. And so it's a pretty cool area. As it's coming, the water's coming down, it's collecting the minerals. This rust-colored stuff is rust. It's iron oxide. Over here, we have from a stope up above us down into this ore car. And then, anybody know what this is right here?
Boiler?
Kind of. This replaced the donkeys. So when the miners got tired of pushing ore cars around in here, they brought donkeys down into the mines. And the donkeys would haul the ore cars all over down here. The donkeys didn't have a great life. They lived most of their lives underground. They stabled them here, they fed them here. A lot of them became blind because they were just, you looked at that copper, he said, Monster Energy Drink logo. I said, yeah, it's almost perfect, isn't it? This is a stoper drill. This was the original one you could drill because so many miners died because of that silicosis. They were trying to improve conditions and everything, and a miner came up with this idea. You see that hole in the end of the drill steel there? There's a hole, and that hole goes all the way through. Any idea what went through that hole?
So dust can pass through the wall?
Water. Pressurized water shoots up through the drill steel as they're drilling up. The dust comes, hits the water, becomes mud. No miner ever died because of mud. Now they were super sloppy and super wet and super muddy, but they weren't dying. And so that was a great modern stoper drill. I'm going to run it for you. Loudest thing we have. Loud. It's pretty neat though because it has a little leg here, hydraulic, called a stinger. And that actually pushes the drill up. Okay, so here we go, ready? 3, 2, 1. That is loud. So this is the queen best stope. So as they were stope drilling and stope mining, it got higher and higher. Actually, it did come down low, go up and go down in the middle section. But this is the largest one on display in North America. It is 750 feet up.
Oh, wow.
750 feet. And it goes a long way further than that guy. That guy is the stope rat, the stope miner. He gets paid $4 a day. He's the highest paid miner. $4 a day because it's so dangerous. Now, they also had children working in the mines called nippers, or gophers, or runners. And those nippers would run errands for the miners. They got paid 50 cents a day. So think about this. This miner has to climb up those ladders, set all the platforms. That big giant drill is still down here. Throws the rope down, the nipper ties the rope to the drill, and then Superman has to pull that thing all the way up there. So they started making it more efficient. They first just used troughs, and then they came up with this little tuck line idea. So the nipper would just tie the tool to the cable, and it would pull it up. I'll run it for you. It's a little loud. It's not horrible, but it's a little loud. Easier to get. They've only got about a quarter of the gold out of the volcano that they know is there. And it's the 5th richest mining district in the world. So it's there's a lot of gold still here. The other cool thing is also the copper stalactite right up here. It's really amazing.
त्यहाँ एकजना टुर गाइड हुनुहुन्थ्यो उहाँ चाहिँ एकदमै प्रोफेसनल हुनुहुँदो रहेछ उहाँले यो गोल्ड माइन कसरी सुरु भयो कसरी सञ्चालन भयो कसरी गोल्ड रसको बेला मान्छेहरू कहाँबाट आयो यो सबै कुराहरू यस्तो मजाले एक्सप्लेन गर्नुभयो कि कुरै नगर्नु अनि त्यति बेला चाहिँ कस्ता कस्ता टुलहरू इक्विपमेन्टहरू अनि अरू प्रविधिहरू प्रयोग गर्नुहुन्थ्यो सुनखानीमा काम गर्ने मानिसहरूको दैनिक ज्याला कति थियो उनीहरूले कसरी लाइफ बिताउँथे त्यो सबै कुराहरू पनि एकदम मजाले हामीलाई बुझाइदिनु भयो त्यहाँ चाहिँ सुनको धाउ अर्थात् गोल्ड ओरहरू चाहिँ ट्रान्सपोर्टेसनको लागि गधाहरू पनि प्रयोग गर्ने गरिन्छ त्यो गधाहरू चाहिँ लामो समयसम्म 1000 फिट तल सुरुङमा रहेर काम गर्नुपर्ने हुँदाखेरि कामको किरणबाट वञ्चित भएको कारणले गर्दा गधाहरू एकदमै धेरै बिरामी हुने अनि अन्धा हुने भएछन्.
So there were little restrooms scattered about, and they would use those empty dynamite boxes. One of the jobs of the kids was to haul that out every day. That would be a horrible job. 50 cents a day though. All right.
तत्पश्चात त्यहाँको एउटा अदालतले चाहिँ ती गधाहरूलाई प्रत्येक दिन विशेष समयको लागि बाहिर जमिन मिलाएर घाम तपाउने आदेश दिएछ. त्यो भएपछि गधाहरूलाई 1000 फिट तलबाट माथि जमिनसम्म एलिभेटरबाट ल्याउन र 1000 फिट तल झारेर काम गराउनले एकदमै समस्या भयो. कारण त्यहाँका कामदारहरूले चाहिँ एउटा मेकानिकल ट्रान्सपोर्टेसन सिस्टम चाहिँ डेभलप गरेको जसलाई चाहिँ उनीहरूले गधालाई रिप्लेस गर्न प्रयोग गरेको हुनाले त्यसको नाम पनि डङ्की नै राखेछन्.
This junction area between tunnels was a great place for the tool shop and for the blacksmith shop. That was a very valuable position in the mine, was to be a blacksmith, because there was always tools breaking, you always had to repair things, and the nippers were running back and forth from here constantly, taking drill steels to be repaired and those types of things. One of the inventions was the cool rail bike there, right? And pretty neat. I guess the boss got to ride the rail bike and come around down through the tunnels and check on everybody, you know what I mean? I think the blacksmith made it intentionally really loud too, so that the miners might be able to hear it coming. Now here's a really cool story. So they started here and they started blasting. What they didn't know, what you know now, is right here, just a few feet away, you see this right here, where the light is? That is a rich vein of gold and silver, right there. And they didn't know it was there until they started blasting in 1975. So from 1891 to 1975, no idea that was there until they came in here. And it was funny, the newspapers around the country were saying, Cripple Creek miner strikes it rich. Well, Nick Cox, who found the vein, he didn't get rich because he didn't own the mine. But they really didn't even mine this. They just opened it up and named the vein after Nick, and here it is, still here. So if they ever would mine here again, they would probably go after that. Because it's got some really good silver in it and some good gold too.
मेकानिकल डङ्कीको डेभलपमेन्ट भइसकेपछि चाहिँ त्यो सुनखानीमा काम गर्ने गधाहरूलाई चाहिँ उनीहरूले बाहिर खुला छोडिदिए र अहिले पनि त्यहाँ प्रशस्त मात्रामा चाहिँ गधाहरू पाइन्छ र त्यो गधाहरू चाहिँ त्यही सुनखानीमा काम गर्ने गधाहरूकै सन्तानहरू हो.
Now over here on this plaque you see Mollie Kathleen. Mollie Kathleen, her husband was a mine lawyer. They came up into the district in early 1891. Because they were helping out with the new mines that had started. The closest one is the El Paso Gold King, which is literally just down the hill. You can see another picture of it there, the El Paso mine. Literally down the hill from here. And she was sitting up on I'm going to stake a claim because I just found gold. So she went to the claim office and they said, you're not allowed to stake a claim because you're a woman. Of course, right? And so she said, well, let's talk about that. So she got her mine lawyer husband to come up to the claim office, and he negotiated, and she became the first woman owner of a gold mine, which is pretty cool. Over here on this side, except for the El Paso, all these mines are over in Victor. Victor is where the big mines were, where all the big gold was. The Ajax mine, right there. It is above Victor. It's the deepest mine in the district, 3,350 feet deep at the bottom.
Where is that located?
It's in Victor. So Victor is 5 miles from here, on the southern edge of the volcano. That's where the big mines were. You can go over there and you see it up there on the hill. It's big. Processes, and then it hardened in those vertical veins. So we thought, there's a bowl of gold in there. He didn't have enough capital yet to buy up the rest of the volcano from the other mine owners to go after the bowl of gold. So he decided in 1901 to sell the... He's telling us how he got the gold out of the pyrite, or off the pyrite. So what they do is they crush that pyrite into a powder. They use a weak cyanide solution to help separate it out. It's been roasted to 1800 degrees, and look at the gold that's just bubbled out of it. And that's why this was... people didn't believe Bob Womack when he said there was gold here, because it didn't look like gold. Until somebody finally, after 12 years, roasted up one of his rocks and saw the gold, and then the rush was on. So if you look up though, this is the original Mollie Kathleen vein, came right down here. So she was sitting on that rock 1,000 feet up. And when they were mining all this, they had the shaft down to 1,000 feet. But then when they got here, they decided they wanted to follow the vein further down. Here we go. Like that, and we'll dump it in. Pretty ingenious. All right, coming back up. Here we go.
पकेटबाट 1 टन यो चाहिँ यो कार्बन खनाउनलाई चाहिँ इन्जिनियर्सले बनाएको मेसिन हो है.
Any idea what this is?
It's a thing?
It's a thing?
A break room?
Break room, it is.
Oh, okay.
You're right. But initially, it was stables for some donkeys. And then when the donkeys got out of here, they just converted it to a break room.
Looks like gas.
This is where they would come when they would set the charges, and they'd come back here, hang out. In 1893, the United States went off of the silver standard for all the money and went on the gold standard. A big depression ensued in the country monetarily. It's called the Silver Panic of 1893. These mines were found in 1891 is when they started, and more were found as the years went by. the mines in this district got the whole country out of the depression because of all the gold. One of the problems was, though, is that all the miners were coming here to mine the gold. There were lots of jobs, lots of mines, and they came from different parts of the country, different parts of the world, and their communication system underground was different everywhere. Nothing was the same. So accidents happen because I might be telling someone one thing, they think I'm saying something different based on where they came from, and certainly there were problems. So a man in the district came up with this idea. It's a standardized signal system using bells, and it's kind of like Morse code. It got adopted here, it got used here, it was so popular here, it then got adopted around the world. So even now, underground mining anywhere in the world, they still use this exact same system. And so we are required to use it as we move up and down the shaft and do different things. So when we came down, JC up there, she rang a 2532. 2-5, meaning we're going to the 10th level, which is the lowest level in this mine. A 3, men on, run it slowly, and 2, lower it. When we go back up, we're going to ring a 3-1, which is 3, men on, run it slowly, 1, hoist to the top. Who wants to help out? Pretty hard. 3 times, 1, 2, 3, and then wait a second and do 1. Okay, go. Got it. Pretty cool, huh? Did you notice the light came on too? You know why? Think about it. There's a few reasons.
If someone was deaf or they had.
Yep, exactly. They were trouble of hearing, and also the machinery sometimes was so loud, and then also it's dark in places in the mines, right? So they had the light going on. Now I'm going to get us ready to head back to the surface. If you were on the top cage, if you load at the top, you're going to load first again. But while I'm getting everything ready, the sign is kind of funny to me. You are now 1,000 feet underground. We've been
हामी सुरुमा भित्रबाट बाहिर निस्किँदा चाहिँ हल्का पानी परिरहेको थियो सायद सी लेभलबाट निकै हाइटमा भएको कारणले गर्दा अनि हामीले सर्ट मात्रै लागेको भएर होला एकदमै जाडो भयो चिसोले जमेरै मरिएला जस्तो भयो त्यसकारण हामी हतार कारतर्फ दौडेर एसी अन गरेर ज्यान तताउनतर्फ लाग्यो अनि कार स्टार्ट गरिसकेपछि तुरुन्तै घरतर्फ प्रस्थान गर्यौँ किनभने हामीले अझै 118 माइल अर्थात् 190 किलोमिटर टाढा जानुपर्ने थियो। यो हाम्रो आजको यात्रा चाहिँ अत्यन्तै सुखद र रमाइलो रह्यो। अझै विशेष गरी यो गोल्ड माइन टुरको हाम्रो यात्रा चाहिँ अत्यन्तै जानकारीमूलक रह्यो। यदि तपाईँहरू पनि कुनै दिन यो ठाउँ पुग्नुभयो भने यो गोल्ड माइन टुर चाहिँ अवश्य गर्नुहोला। तपाईँहरूले चाहिँ गोल्ड माइनको बारेमा एकदमै धेरै नलेज प्राप्त गर्नुहुनेछ। आजलाई यति भन्दै मेरो यो युट्युब च्यानल सब्स्क्राइब गर्न नबिर्सिनु होला अनि लाइक शेयर र कमेन्ट पनि गरिदिनु होला। अर्को भिडियोमा पुनः भेटौँला है त। बाई बाई, सी यू।